Well, this is exciting. I am joined by Lizzie Harwood from the Association of Christian Teachers. Hello, Lizzie.
Hello.
And also by Jon Roberts from Festive. Hello, Jon.
Hello to you.
So it's absolutely a real pleasure and privilege to be with you on Back to School Week here at Pure 24/7 Radio. It's absolutely brilliant to hear about different organisations and different roles and different things going on in the United Kingdom as we move into the first week of school, which is brilliant. And so much I don't know. So I'm really excited to hear from Jon. So what I'm going to do is I let Lizzie basically interview you or chat to you about your role in Festive, what you do, and then obviously at the end, I'll just finish off, and hopefully we'll have some prayer points for everyone to get involved with. So over to you, Lizzie.
Excellent. So we're thinking about further education today, and some may call that the forgotten sector. And many of Pure 24's listeners may be more familiar with schools work, or universities. Can you tell us a bit about the unique world of further education? What is it?
Of course, yeah. So further education is sixth forms, colleges, technical colleges that specifically provide qualifications for 16 plus here in the UK. We work with a number of different types of colleges. And there's around 2 million young people across the UK who are currently engaged in further education. So it is an enormous sector.
It really is, isn't it? And that's partially down to the fact that all young people now are expected to stay in some kind of education training until the age of 18. But yeah, I think many people would be surprised to hear just how many students are involved in that sector. But can you tell us a bit about what Festive is, why the organisation exists, and what you do?
Of course. Well, Festive stands for Further Education and Sixth Form Initiative. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It's everything to do with serving and equipping young Christians who are in further education. We've been running for about 16, 17 years, I believe, and it began with a group of people who noticed that there was this perhaps forgotten sector with a lot of resources and ministries being targeted towards schools work or towards university. And yet there was this huge sector of 16 to 18-year-olds that had perhaps been a little bit forgotten to some degree. And so Festive was birthed. In a nutshell, what Festive does, we have a network of young people across the country who sign up to be part of the Festive network. They're then matched with what we call our student engagement team, which is a big team of volunteers all the way across the UK, who are a little bit older, perhaps university students or younger 20s, who will then mentor and equip and support young people throughout their years in further education whilst they study. It's a big part of what we do. We also have a resources department, and so we produce books, podcasts, resources, online Bible studies that can be used in Christian unions, loads and loads of things that we provide for free. And we're very passionate about that. And we have lots of kind of online training for students, from big gatherings that equip young people to live on mission, right through to really specific equipping webinars that might be on things like how to reach your friends with the gospel, how to run a youth alpha, whatever it might be. We're a small ministry with a huge mission field, but doing our best to try and equip and serve young people as best as we can.
So it sounds like you're really seeking to equip young people to live out their faith as Christians in the FE setting. And it sounds like it's very kind of student led. This isn't the same as, say, kind of teachers starting up a club or a church coming into school and putting on or doing an
Yeah.
assembly or something like that. It feels like it's much more of a groundswell of young people themselves.
Absolutely. We genuinely believe that the best way to reach 16 to 18-year-olds who don't know Jesus is through peer-to-peer evangelism. And we're just hearing so many stories all the time that are blowing us away. I'm sure all your listeners have heard of this quiet revival that's been talked about in the UK. We're very privileged in some sense to have a front row seat as what's going on amongst 16 to 18-year-olds. And we're always excited when our network grows. So this summer we've had a bit of a record sign up at all the festivals to our network. We're more so excited by all the emails we get from them week by week, filling us in on what's going on in their colleges, in their common rooms, on the bus, on the way to college. And we're beginning to hear some really exciting stories about what Jesus is doing in sixth forms around the country and in colleges. I'll give you a couple of examples if that's all right. We had a lad who came to faith not too long ago through a youth alpha course. And off the back of that, decided, I'll see if there's a Christian union at my college. And it was one that Festive were involved in providing some resources for every now and then. And he was a brand new believer, and he said to them, "I'd love to run a youth alpha here and just see what happens." So he put on a youth alpha in his college, and on the first meeting, I think it was exactly 100 young people and teachers turned up to come and explore faith. Um, they completed the course, and a number of whom made commitments to follow Jesus. And we just love hearing stories like this. This wasn't a teacher who decided, I'm going to do something. This wasn't a local youth worker. This was a 16-year-old who, by his own admission, wasn't the most confident, but thought, right, if the gospel is true, my friends need to hear this. And so he had the faith and confidence to set up a youth alpha. Another one of my favorite stories recently was a young woman in our network who had been praying that Jesus would use her in her college, and kept getting frustrated that every time she started a conversation, it would get shut down. And one of her teachers was placed on her heart to start praying for. And so she began to pray for him. And every time, any opportunity for conversation with him arose, she would start to chat to him about church and chat to him about her faith. And gradually, those conversations became more and more in depth. And she emailed us recently to let us know that he was super, super close to coming to faith in Jesus Christ, and that she had invited him to church, and that he was very, very excited about coming. And so we're hearing stories like this all the time of what seems to us a generation who are passionate about taking the call to live for Jesus and speak for Jesus really seriously. And Festive is all about us just sitting back, equipping, releasing, and praying for the young people as they do the mission work, not us. We're just here to support them.
Brilliant. So many students will have been receiving GCSE results recently, and be thinking ahead. And as you say, many of them will be going into further education, be that a sixth form college or a sixth form in a school, or some kind of technical college. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that students in FE face today as Christians?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's something that has changed certainly in the 20 years since I was at sixth form college. When I was at sixth form, I remember it was during the era of the new atheists. And whenever I was to have conversations with my friends, I would be shot down with responses by Dawkins or Hitchens or whoever it might be. And I felt like it was a time when there was a lot of hostility towards the Christian faith. Now, that
Yeah.
still exists to a small degree. But as we talk to the 16, 17, 18-year-olds in our network, what we're finding is there is a real openness amongst their peers to talk about what they would term spiritual things. And so, faith issues. So there's an openness. The challenge is it can often stop with that, with, it's an openness. That's your truth. That's great. Fantastic for you. I believe something else, but that's cool. And so it is the challenge for the young people in our network and around the UK who are seeking to share the gospel with their friends, of being able to introduce them to Jesus and being able to say he really is the only way, truth, and the life. He is not an option amongst many spiritual routes. He really is the way. So that's something we hear a lot from the young people in our network. I think then the other big thing, and something that we pray into all the time, is that it's a really hard time to be a 16 to 18-year-old, a digital native, very much grown up with social media and tech. And the way that for this particular generation, that has completely rewired their brains and their ways of thinking. It's completely transformed what community looks like for young people. When I was 16, it was still meeting up after school with my friends to go and kick a ball around in the park and calling for my mates. That's changed significantly, and so we do get a lot of emails from young people who are just lonely, or who feel like They have friendship groups in the digital world, but very much kind of like shallow relationships when it comes to real life. So that would be two big challenges, I think, for young people who are seeking to follow Jesus in that age group at the moment.
Yeah, but do you think on the other side of that sort of coin, do you think there are particular opportunities as well through some of those contextual differences between now and then?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we often see is that in setting up Christian unions and young people having the opportunity to build relationship and community around the gospel, their friends are seeing that and going, wow, I wish I had that kind of community. I wish I had those kind of friendships. And so it is often the community itself that we're finding that's compelling the friends of young people in our network to come in and explore and say, what is this? I don't have this kind of community, this kind of friendship. So there's definitely an opportunity there. There's also a big opportunity within the digital world. And I guess there would be one line of thought within the Christian world that would say there is already so much content out there that is consuming young people's minds. Let's stay away from it. We've gone the opposite direction, and we know that 17-year-olds in the UK are spending significant amounts of time on social media. Let's try and redeem it. Let's try and shine some light into some of these dark areas. And so we have a wonderful digital content creator within our team, and we love to populate our social media, particularly on TikTok now, with heaps of gospel truth and stories of lives transformed. And for us, it's been really wonderful to see the traction that that can have. And in our podcast as well, we have a regular podcast called Beautiful Feet, which is all about equipping young people for mission with well-known evangelists and apologists from around the UK. And again, we're just trying to kind of contribute content that is short and snappy, but gospel focused, that redeems the time that young people are spending on social media and can point them to Jesus rather than the opposite.
Sure, absolutely. And have you got any wisdom or anything like that for Christian professionals? So obviously at ACT we work with Christian teachers, Christian chaplains, or staff members that might work in FE. Anything you can share that might encourage them or help point them to something that might be encouraging or inspirational for the students in their care?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a wonderful conversation the other day with a teacher in a huge college who had been back and forward with us via email saying, I would love to start up a Christian union, and I just don't know if there's enough young people to start this. And so I'm just going to put a poster up and see who turns up. And this is a huge college up in the north of England. So she put up a hand-drawn poster at the end of term, and immediately 20 young people turned up. And she said, I looked around the room, looking at these 20 young people, going, I had no idea that you were a follower of Jesus whatsoever. And she said, I could see them looking around the room at their peers, going, I had no idea, I had no idea. And she could immediately see some level of friendships and kind of camaraderie form and going, none of us had any idea that we were trying to follow Jesus. We were doing this on our own, and yet here we are, the kind of green shoots here of a Christian union, which so she's continued over the summer to try and get them together. And she said they've been meeting now to pray together and worship together. And they're really excited about starting September with a functional Christian union that they can meet weekly on campus. They can run a mission week as it heads towards Christmas. They've got all sorts of exciting plans. It started with a teacher having the boldness and faith within a secular college to be able to say, I'm just going to see who else is out there. And she said that she fully expected to hit September and go, right, I'm going to need to keep this going. I'm going to need to plan things. And yet some young leaders have already emerged who would not have had that opportunity, would not have known that they were part of something bigger. And yet now they're stepping into this new term this week with heaps of faith that they're going to be able to reach their friends and their campus with the gospel. But it started with that boldness from that teacher to step out and say, I would love to see this college impacted for Jesus. She's now able just to step back and facilitate and equip. So I guess my wisdom would be, feel free to step out in faith, see who there is in that college, and then release them as leaders. Don't feel the need to have to be the one to keep it going. Give them the opportunity.
Excellent. Great. Well, I think we're going to go into some prayer points now, aren't we?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Lizzie and John. That was incredible. The whole point of Back to School week here on Pure 24/7 Radio is to learn about different sectors and how we can pray and what we can do. I'm blown away, I'll be honest, John. I didn't even think and know and understand what the issues were there with. And I must admit, when I was growing up, school there was an influence, there would be Christians there, and when I went to university, but actually at college I don't remember anything, and maybe that's why I became a Christian at 21 and not 16 to 18.
Yeah.
So I'm blown away at the work you're doing, and it's been so encouraging. It's absolutely wonderful, and like you say, it's amazing. There are 16 to 18-year-olds. There's a resurgence, isn't there? There seems to be young people really hungry, and I remember being hungry for something, for someone, not knowing what that was at 16 to 17, 18. It's a really important time, isn't it? As you move on
Yes.
into adulthood, making decisions, and to be there for other Christians, be there for others to know and to share. It's absolutely phenomenal. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work that you do. That's brilliant.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you, Lizzie, for your input as well from the Teachers Association for Christians. Have I got the wrong way around, haven't I? Christian
Doesn't matter. Association of Christian Teachers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the work you do as well, and thank you for getting on board for Back to School. We love our children, we love our teachers, we love all who work in education. It's a stressful place sometimes. It can be quite hard, and particularly in your area between 16 and 18, as people get, maybe like you saying about GCSE, some results aren't necessarily what we want, and we've not necessarily got the options to do things that we wanted to do. But it's so good to know there's support there, and I love that you've talked about the digital era and the things and the issues there, and you're on top of all of this, which is brilliant. You know what's going on, you know what young people need, so that's really encouraging. So what can we pray for, John? Have you got like 3 things that we could pray for your sector in 16 to 18, but slightly over as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for praying. We really appreciate it. I guess one big prayer initially would be, I think I mentioned earlier, the scale of the task that we have in trying to reach as many young people as possible is just enormous. And we are a tiny little charity kind of trying to do our bit. And there's so much potential for growth that there are constant open doors for us, so many of which we're having to say no to because we just don't have the team, we don't have the resources, etc., etc. So I guess one prayer point would be for provision. We as a small charity, we require greater funds, we require more volunteers, and we can't do anything without a network of people praying for us around the country. And so we do have a prayer network that people can join, and they can get monthly prayer letters with specific people to pray for. And so we're keen for greater awareness, and so that would be one prayer point that our visibility would increase. A second one with coming back to school is September is full of enthusiasm and new things. And we're aware of many new Christian unions that will be forming in sixth forms and in colleges around the country this week. And perhaps some of them might even be meeting today or tomorrow for their very first meetings. We would love you to pray for boldness, for unity, and for an immediate sense of this isn't a little church on campus, this is a little mission group. And we exist not just to kind of huddle together and hide, but to go out into the corridors and classrooms and friendship groups with the good news of Jesus, because it genuinely does transform lives. So that would be a second thing that people could pray for. And if I can be greedy and give you a third, September, we do try to run various kind of equipping events as well. And they're largely online just because of the fact that we do cover such a large area. And we've got a couple of webinars coming up. We do one called Scattered. And Scattered is like a UK-wide gathering of young people just to equip them online and to infuse them and excite them for the new term ahead. And we've also got one entitled How to Start a CU. And so this is for anyone who's like, I want to do something. I'd love to start a Christian union, but I have no idea how. It's an opportunity for them to come and ask questions, get loads of free resources, loads of good teaching, and hopefully start September with a bang. So there'd be my prayer points for this morning, if that's okay.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jon. So awareness of Festive, what you can do for people and what you're up to so that people can tap into your resources, which sounds absolutely fantastic. The second one was come on, brain, we can do this if we work as a team. I'm sorry, tell me the second one.
New Christian
New
unions
Christian
that are
unions,
forming.
absolutely brilliant. It's just so lovely to know that there's new ones forming. And of course, your equipping events. We want a prayer for those three things, which is absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much. As I say, Back to School is about focusing on education, what from naught to university and beyond, isn't it? So we're looking at education throughout the years because in the United Kingdom, people are coming back. I say people because it's children and it's adults are all coming back into after a break, and it can be a nerve-wracking experience, and it can be exciting, and there's also lots to sort of sort out. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are, whatever. Lots going on for staff and children and young people as you move into Back to School. So thank you so much for sharing, Jon, what's going on in Festive and for the young people 16 to 18 plus. That's just wonderful, and we will pray for you definitely and send out those requests. Have you got like a website, Jon, so that people can get this prayer letter?
We do, and so it's festive.org.uk, and you'll find us on social media as well at Festive UK, and you'll find all the resources on our website, all of the different events and the ways that you can contact us to sign up to be part of our prayer network or to give financially. All of those things are on the website.
Jon, remind me, what's your role in the organisation?
I am the operations manager.
Fantastic. So you're a good person to know, aren't you? Brilliant. Well, thank you, Jon and Lizzie. This is Pure 24/7 Radio, Back to School, and looking particularly at the 16 to 18 age range, and with Festive, who are doing a fantastic job across the United Kingdom. Is that right?
Yeah, we don't currently work in Scotland, as the system is ever so slightly different up there, but in Northern Ireland, Wales and England.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you.